We're in beautiful Fort DeSoto this week, and today we had tons of fun outdoors, but now it's time to go have some fun in the stamp room. Come join me. Hello again, I'm Jill, the Wandering Stamper, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today we are going to play around with the Sweet Citrus bundle. I love this set of products from Stampin' Up! They are only available until the end of April as they're in the Spring Mini catalog, but it's such a great little set. The Sweet Citrus comes with all the stamp sets you see here. There's some flowers, some citrus, the outline stamps, plus the middle of the stamps, some great sayings that you can use for lots of different occasions, and then it also is coordinated with a set of dies which cuts out the citrus and the flowers, and also comes with this great embossing folder that has a unique ability to cut out your citrus and emboss it at the same time. So when you put your paper in there, cut everything out, and you end up with this really great looking set of pieces for your cards. So today we're going to make this cute double flap card using this product suite. It's very cute. You could make this for all kinds of occasions using lots of different stamp sets as well. This is a fun little fun fold. It's not hard, it's really cute, and it really packs a punch to the person who is special enough to receive it. So let's get started. As I mentioned, the mini catalog runs from January through April, so you have a couple more months. As I said, the Sweet Citrus bundle is in this product. There's some great stamp sets. There's also a lot of ideas in this catalog, so these catalogs are great to hold on to when you have these stamp sets, give you additional ideas on how to create some really stunning cards. And then we are also going to be using the Dandy Designs Designer Series paper, which is free in Celebration. Celebration only happens once a year, and it's an opportunity to earn free products with Stampin' Up! When you stock up your stamp room and purchase new product. So the sale runs until the end of February, so you still have about a week and a half to order. And there's some really fun stamp sets in here, Designer Series papers, embellishments, all kinds of fun stuff that you get for free when you make purchases during this time. Today we're going to be using the Dandy Designs 12 by 12 paper. It comes in a ton of colors and patterns, and it's really pretty, and you can use it for lots of different occasions and looks on your cards. It's 12 by 12 paper. There's 4 each of 12 double-sided designer paper. Each side is a different design, so you get a lot of choices in what you want to stamp with and decorate your cards with. So if you're interested in these products, check out my links below and take a look at the catalogs online on my website. So let's get started with the fun stuff. Everything coordinates, so today we're taking some of the colors from the Designer Series paper to make our base of our card. So this card is using the Mango Melody, which coordinates perfectly with the Designer Series papers that we're adding to our card. So the first thing we're going to do is work on the base of our card. So we're going to cut a 4.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. I love this cutter because you can, sorry, I'm thinking and talking at the same time here. So you can keep your cutting and your scoring blade on the same arm. So it's always easy to cut and score quickly, and you don't have to worry about looking for pieces or keeping track of those little scoring blades like you used to in the olden days. All right, so we're gonna cut 2 3/4 off of one end. We scored it at 5.5 so that you end up with this flap. So it's 4.5 by 11, scored at 5.5, and then you cut off 2 3/4 inches on one end of the top for the front flap. So that is done. We'll give it a little squeeze with the bone folder and set that aside. So the next thing we want to do is cut a piece of designer series paper at 2.5 inches by 4 1/8 inch. So we're going to use this cute paper, and we're going to do 2.5 by 4 1/8. I like to kind of lay my paper out as I'm cutting just to make sure everything matches up and lines up the way it's supposed to. Now the next thing we're going to do is cut the designer series paper for the inside of the card. And I thought this would look really fun with it, so I think we're going to go with that. I think I might actually have a smaller piece. And we're going to cut this at 4 by 5 1/4. I actually think this piece might be the right size. 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so how often does that work out? So that is our inside piece. Now we're going to work on the cardstock for the top of the card. So that, remember, this design is basically a card within a card. So now we're going to work on this one. So we're going to take our Mango Melody cardstock again, and we're going to cut it at 4 1/4 by 2 3/4. This is actually, I had to look at my notes, I did this backwards. This is actually going to be the piece that goes on the top of the card. So I'm going to get a smaller scrap because I know I have one. I think this will work. All right, so we're going to cut at 2 3/4 by 4 1/4. I'm going to go ahead and do the 4 1/4 first because I know I have that much length. When you use scraps, you want to make sure your scraps work right. And 2 3/4. All right, so that will go right there. And then we want a piece of basic white cardstock to go on top of it. Sorting through my scrap pile here. And we're going to cut that basic white at 2 5/8 by 4 1/8. So 2 5/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anybody else do it that way? I always have to count. And 4 1/8. Right there. Okay, so then that piece is going to layer. Now on this particular card, I'm not going to be putting another piece of designer series paper on top, but that is an option, and I will provide that cutting dimension in case you do want to layer one more piece of designer series paper on top of that. And if I did, I would pick a third design just to make everything pop. But I'm not going to do that for this particular card. So now we're going to do the actual inside of the card, which is this part. So to do that, we're going to use our cardstock again, and we're going to cut it at 3 1/4 by 10. So 3 1/4 by 10. Now I happen to know this sheet of paper is 11 inches long, so I'm actually using the 1 inch mark over here on this side, and I'm just going to cut an inch off because I know I want it 10 inches. And then we're going to score it at 5 inches, so we're scoring it halfway. Give it a score, give it a little fold, squish it down with the bone folder. All right, and so that's going to be our inside. And now we want to cut 2 pieces of 3 1/8 by 4 7/8 paper, and that's going to be for the inside, for the greeting. My scraps out of the way. All right. So we're going to cut 4 7/8. 4 7/8. Whoops, there we go. And we're going to do 3 1/8. And we're going to do 2 of those. 1 and 2. Okay, so these will go here and here. So that is all of our cutting for now. We're going to set this aside and we're going to start working on our pieces and what we're going to stamp. I'll get my scrap paper out. So the colors that I'm using today are going to be Granny Apple Green, Calypso Coral, Mango Melody, which pulls in our paper, and Daffodil Delight. So these 2 colors will be for the orange. These are going to be part of the flowers. These will be our leaves. Everything coordinates nicely and you have that continuity, so everything kind of matches, but you still get lots of different variety in the design. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is work on the fun part, which is our oranges. So like I said, these stamps are really unique because you have the inside of the orange as one large piece, and then you also have the outline pieces, which is right here. So it's almost like a almost like two-step stamping. So the way I mount these, running out of room on my table, the way I like to mount these is I kind of just lightly plop them on the table so that I know that they're the shape they're supposed to be. And then I just put my block on them. Do that one more time. Actually, do I have the right block? Yeah, I do. This is kind of big, so you sort of have to look at it. Okay, so that they're on there nice and good. Now, I like to stamp the rind, the outside, you know, the peel of the lemon. I like to stamp that in the Mango Melody. It's a little darker, so it kind of looks more like a lemon peel. Because the stamp's large, I'm going to go ahead and stamp this way instead of stamping the pad. The stamp on the pad, I'm going to stamp the pad on the stamp just to make sure I get a nice coverage. And then I'm just going to stamp it down. Give it a nice little press. There we go. And I'm going to clean off my stamp just off camera. And I'm going to take this off. I really need to clean this little stamp pad, or this little block. It's getting rather messy. And now I have to figure out where I laid. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to kind of plop it down, make sure it's not bent funny, and go ahead and put my stamp on it. We're going to close up the Mango Melody, and I'm going to pull out my Daffodil Delight and stamp this nicely, make sure everything's inked up. And then all you're doing is matching up the orange with the peel as best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's handmade. Those little imperfections just make it special. All right, and then you just give it a good press. Voila. Look how cute that is. So we're going to stamp that, or clean that stamp off and get this out of the way. All right, get all my stamp pads out of the way. Okay, so now we have that. So we're going to go ahead and close our stamp pad, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to cut this out. We'll get our Stampin' Up! Cutter. This thing is great. I love this because, as you know, I live in an RV and travel full time. I don't have a ton of space, and this folds up. It's great. It takes up a lot less space than my old style Sizzix. They also have one of these that is a mini, so it's a lot smaller, and it's for smaller. When you use mostly small dies, you could have that. It's a fraction of the size. Again, it works just the same. So if you tend to use small dies, that may be all you need. Now, because we're using a 3D, basically it's like a 3D embossing folder. So we're using the die and the embossing folder together. So all you need is plate 1 and plate 4. Make sure I'm in camera. I am. So what I do is take my paper. Now, if you need to cut it down, sometimes I will take my scissors and just kind of cut it a little bit smaller like that. You don't have to, but I think it's easier sometimes. Now, what you want to do is you want to have the Stampin' Up! On top, the little emblem, and then you line up your die and it fits right where it's supposed to be. And then you just kind of hold it, and I turn mine downwards so I can see what I'm doing. And then you just line what you stamped up in here as close as you can to what you want it to do. I think that looks pretty good. So you get it where you're happy with it. And then give it a squeeze. I'm saying squeeze a lot. It's kind of funny because we're working with fruit. Okay, and then you put your number 4 plate on top and just crank it through. It cranks really nicely through here. You hear the snap, crackle, and pop and know it's working. All right. I'm gonna get this out of the way. Now, when you open it up, look at this. So all your pieces are cut, and you have that really cool citrus texture. So it's the same texture as when you section up an orange, it puts that there. So it's kind of cool. So that's done. We're going to set that aside. Now I'm going to do we'll do one more embossing later so you'll be able to see this without the die. And we'll just simply emboss a piece of paper. But this is really cool. Stampin' Up! Hasn't done that. I'm not sure if they've ever done that. They haven't done it. I know I haven't seen it before. Maybe they've had one before that, but I believe it's the first time they've had a die work with an embossing folder. So it's really unique. So we've got these pieces. One thing I like to do with these that's fun is I like to take my clear Wink of Stella, which it's a clear liquid that has a shimmer to it. It sort of adds sparkle. I like to paint over my pulp of my lemons. It makes them look juicy. I think it's kind of neat. It just adds a little bit of sparkle. It makes the citrus look fresh and juicy. So I just give it a little swipe. You can't really mess this stuff up because it's clear. All it simply does is make it sparkle and shine a little bit, makes it look a little wet. It dries pretty quick, so it doesn't hold you up. You don't have to wait for it. All right. I know you probably can't see that on the camera, but now it has a shimmer and it looks kind of juicy. So we're going to set these aside. And then the next thing we're going to do is stamp a few flowers. The flowers, I used the Calypso Coral and the Mango Melody. And the flowers, it's just a little flower. You could cut it out with the die. I actually just fussy cut just for the sake of time. I've already done those, but you can cut them out with the dies. So we cut 3 of those, or we stamped 3 of those. And then the flower comes with this little centerpiece. So I like to stamp the center with this Calypso Coral, which is actually a color that's in the designer series paper we're using. So again, you're getting all of that continuity throughout your card. So there's that. Wipe that off. Close up that stamp pad. And then I will take the Wink of Stella and I make the middle of the flower shimmer because why not? It's fun. So I've already cut these out. As you can see, I just cut 3 of these out. You can fussy cut them, or you could use your dies if you have them, but I wanted to show you if you don't have the dies, you can still do the same thing. And then the last thing we have to do is get our Granny Apple Green and our leaves. ink that up, and then you just want to stamp your leaves. Very simple. And you can use your dies, if you have them, to cut these leaves out. You'll need 2, or you can just fussy cut with your scissors. Either way works just fine. I've already cut these 2 out. So we have those pieces. So we've got all of our pieces. So now we're going to start working on assembly. And we have a little bit more stamping to do. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to work from the outside in. So I'm going to get my silicone craft sheet. Had to find it there for a second. Glue and adhesive, liquid glue, adhesive, and all of those things will not stick to it, so it's really great. I don't like getting anything sticky on my stamp area because I'm putting my hand in it, the paper gets stuck to it. It's crazy. So I really love this piece. We're going to use our Stampin' Seal Plus, which is a really strong adhesive. I love it. I actually have both the Stampin' Seal and the Stampin' Seal Plus. I tend to use the Stampin' Seal Plus a little bit more. I like the way it comes out, and I like the control that it has with the little tabs. So I do end up using it a little bit more often. Now the way I like to do this is kind of eyeball the bottom, because I feel like the bottom is more noticeable than the top. People see it more. I'm going to use that. Put that on there. And then we're going to do the inside, same thing. We do our adhesive. All right, don't need a ton of it. I always have more pressure on one edge than the other, and then I end up pushing my adhesive off to the side, and I have to fix it a lot. I don't know why I do that. Okay, so get this nice and straight. Put that on there. So that's looking good. All right, so we're going to set this aside, and then we're going to work on this flap. So what I'm going to do with this flap is I think I want to give it that texture of the embossing folder. So I'm going to pull this back up, and I'm going to take the embossing folder. I'm just going to decide where I want to have it. I kind of like where these oranges are, and there's some leaves. I think that will look really good, so I'm just going to put that in there. Again, you're using plate 1 and plate 4. They are numbered, which makes it super easy. Crank that through. Get this out of the way. My RV table is about 1.5 feet wide and about maybe 4 feet long. So I never have a ton of space. If you saw how much stuff I have piled around the edges of my view, you'd probably laugh. But look at the cute texture of this paper. And it almost doesn't look like white cardstock. It's a really vivid image. So I think you'll like it a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and put some adhesive down on this. And then we're going to center it on, decide which direction you want it. I'm going to put it that way. And put that down on there. Now we're going to attach our pieces. So you kind of just decide. Now on this one, you could actually put the orange slices where they are in the embossing folder if you wanted to, which kind of looks pretty good. I sort of lay them out the way I think I'm going to want to have them on the card. That's kind of neat. You can choose whether or not to use this lemon. I may actually use it on another part, or you could just put it here. I don't think I'm going to use it. I just kind of lay everything out the way I think will look interesting. Maybe we'll put these like that, and put some flowers somewhere. That kind of looks good. So I kind of get an idea of where I want everything, and then I'll start working on placement. So let's see, we got to work backwards. So I'm going to put some adhesive on here. That is an old stamp pad, or an old adhesive. Okay, we're going to put that here. I think I'll do that. I think I'll do that. All right. And I think I like that right there. We'll put that there. And what do you think? I think that orange looks kind of good sitting right there. Now what I like about this adhesive is when you go off the edge, because it's tabs, you can just roll it back, get it out of your way. Piece there, which is nice. The good thing about this card, because the center is smaller, you can let things hang off, which sometimes I think that adds a nice little touch. I think I'm going to put those flowers there, and I want to tuck the ends of my leaves under. I'm going to do it that way. So I'm going to put a little adhesive here, and we'll tuck that in right there, and we'll do some adhesive on here. I'm not really worried about this sticking out because it's just going to go under this orange slice anyways. So I think I like that. Now for these flowers, I think what I'll do is use my little glue dots because they're going to sit on top. The mini glue dots are a great way to adhere embellishments. So I'll put one right here. And where should I put this one? Here. I kind of like it there. It would look cute here too. I think I'm going to put it right there. No two cards are ever alike, are they? All right, so we'll put this here. Look how cute that is. All right, so now that will be ready to put on here. So I'm going to set that aside. I'm not quite ready to put it on my card yet. I'm going to work on the inside card. Remember I said this is like a card in a card. So what I want to do here is, how did I do? Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and first I'm going to stamp my sentiment, I think. That way if I mess something up, I have the opportunity to turn my paper over. So we're going to use Have a Zesty Birthday, and I'm going to stamp that, I think, in the Calypso Coral. So stamp that, make sure it's nice and juiced up, and put it right there. Perfect. Stamp that off. And then I'm gonna, well, first I'm gonna close this up so I don't make a mess. All right, and then I think that orange I didn't use, I could actually use on this page if I wanted to. Maybe, I kind of like that. Let's do that. So you could use just the flower by itself, which I did on my original card. But I think since I have this little lemon piece, I'm going to go ahead and use it. Where did I leave my glue dots? Put a glue dot on here. And we'll put it right there. So that's that. And that's going to go on the front of the card. So we'll go ahead and put some adhesive down. Get it as straight as possible. I'm not very good at the getting it straight part. All right, that looks good. So that's the outside of that one. And now we have one more piece in the middle. So what I think I'm going to do with this one is just some straight stamping. I'm a flower girl. I like flowers. So this one has 3 cute little flowers to it. I'm going to stamp those in the Mango Melody again, so everything coordinates well. And I'm just gonna stamp it here. Simple. And then I'm gonna take that little dot that we had before. Where did I put it? There it is. To do the centers of the flowers. Now this stamp set comes with these 2 little guys that you can stamp the 2 small flowers at once. For the sake of time, I'm just going to use this one for all 3. It works just fine. So I'm going to stamp my little middles. Okay, that's done. And this will be the piece that I'll write a nice note to the person who gets it. I always like to spend time writing a nice little message to people when I send them cards. I like to make those flowers pop, so we used a little Wink of Stella on those. So now all we have to do is adhere that to the card. So we'll put this here. Look how cute that is. So now to attach this to the card, we're just going to use our Stamp and Seal Plus. Again, all of these products will be listed at the bottom of this video and available on my online store. So check that out. I like to center this here and here, but then put this top of the card at the top edge of the cardstock, not the cardstock, the Designer Series paper. Just like that. So that way this flap does not run into this flap. So we've got a card and a card. So now we're ready to go ahead and add this piece. Now we only want to put glue between here and here because we don't want to have any glue down here or it's going to stick to this piece. So I'm just going to take and run a strip here and here. Why I'm doing that with my glue today. And then I just kind of eyeball it, like, okay, where should I put that? I'm gonna put it just about here. Okay, so look at that. Cute, huh? All right, we have one more piece because we want to add some type of little message to this. So what I think I'm gonna do is, I have this cute little punch. This is, oh, I think it's the Fancy Tag punch. I will have to look up what punch that is. I believe it's the Fancy Tag punch. I wish they put the names on the punch. Once I take it out of the bag, I never remember what it's called. The little packaging that it comes in. But you just get a scrap piece of paper. This tag is super cute. And I'm going to punch it. See, this is me always trying to use every bit of scrap I can. Give it a little squeeze. See how cute that is? And I'm going to stamp my saying, wherever I put it, here it is. This saying says, sending you a big squeeze. So it goes really well with this set, and I'm gonna do the stamping in the, you know, I think I'm going to do the stamping in the Calypso Coral. So I'm just juice it up nicely and kind of center it as best I can. Perfect. Move this out of the way. Don't need this anymore. Okay. And I want this white paper to pop because we're kind of white on white. So what I'll do is I'm going to take this little sponge dauber, and I'm going to dip it in the Mango Melody. And then I'm just going to brush it on the edges of this to kind of give it a little bit of color. And it still matches up with all of our cardstock and everything, so it'll just pop a little bit more. And you can do as much as you want. Once you get it where you like it, I like that. That looks good. And then I'll just, and I have one of these for every color combo, so this is all for my yellows. I try to keep the colors from getting mixed up too much that way. So I just use a little dauber for each color shade. So all the yellows I use the same dauber for. All right, so that's done. So that's gonna go right there, or wherever we wanna have it. So I'm gonna go ahead and use some mini dimensionals to attach it using my Take Your Pick tool. I love this thing. I'm always struggling to get these things off, especially the little pieces of paper on them. And when they came out with this tool, it was quite the game changer for me. I like to put these so they're balanced. And then this little tool really helps you get these little tabs off, because before I was always trying to pick them, and if my fingernails weren't long enough, I couldn't get it to work. Okay, so then you just decide where you want it. We could put it here. I think I'm gonna put it right here. There we go. How cute is that? This card is done. So we have our lemons, we have our flowers, our leaves, everything's cute. You could actually add some green leaves here if you wanted to. And then you have plenty of room for a message. You could even put a piece of paper here and have a message here as well. Super cute card. And I wanted to show you, I've made one with grapefruit. I used the petal pink and the Calypso coral to create the pink grapefruit, which is very cute. I added the wink of Stella. We've got some flowers. Basically the same card. These are different color papers that are in that same pack. I've used the same product packs for all of these cards. Here's the lime. Again, really cute. The paper is in that pack. And then we have oranges. So this would be a great gift to give someone, a whole set of cards for them to give out. You could put different messages on here, but I also wanted to show you the one I made with carrots. This is the Thanks a Bunch set. This is a free stamp set that's in the Celebration catalog that's good until the end of February. So if you purchase product and earn any free product, this is a stamp set that you could pick out. Super cute. It says, I love you a bunch. And I added the grass at the bottom. And again, I have plenty of room to write. And then I added the wink of Stella onto the greenery and onto the carrots, so it kind of looks fresh and clean. So if you like carrots, if you like spring, Easter, this is a cute set. Again, it's only available during Celebration. It has little mini carrots. It's got big carrots. You can make them turnips. You could make them all different colors. You can put them in the ground and have them sticking up. There's just endless amounts. There's a lot of great sayings on it as well. So there's endless amounts of fun with the stamp set. So if you like that, check that out. So I hope you love these cards. I think they're pretty easy to make. They're a lot of fun. They're fresh. They speak spring. And since I'm in sunny Florida right now, they were appropriate cards to make. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video, please send me some love and don't forget to subscribe. I'll have all the cutting links and dimensions below. And as always, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate your time, and I'll see you next time at the stamp pad.